The World War One brought some consequences. One of them was the death and the destructions, where 8 million soldiers died and total 9 million civilians. In addition, the bombing destroyed 3,000 houses, 6,000 factories, and 1,000 miles of trains, and 112 gold mines. In military terms, 12 million tons of ships were sunk. These numbers increase and consider the tremendous physical and psychological damage suffered by billions of people, including soldiers and civilians. Even within this data, we can consider that the terms in which Germany had to do were those that provoked the uprising of Hitler a few years later. Many historians consider that the war wasn't going to finish. Another consequence that we consider was important was the economy. The war was a significant economic cost to the nations that participate in it. Germany, for example, and Britain spent about 60% of what their economy produced, having to raise taxes and demand more money from citizens. Money was also printed to buy weapons and other inputs needed for battles, which contributed to the generation of inflation. The war also generates restrictions on trade, which was extravagant by the exaggerated protectionist policies adopted in the countries. This generated a global growth of the world economic system with a lot of consequences, as was the Great Depression in 1929. On the pass of the times, by the collapse of Russia and the depression of world, the revolutionary socialists increased their power, making communist ideology an important force within Europe. The World War I ended four major monarchies. The first one was the Tsar Nicholas XII in Russia, after which war economies began. The second one was the region of the Kaiser's Wilhelm for Germany. The third one, monarchy, was the Imperialists of Austria, and the last one was the region of the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire.
Emergency of new countries. From the old empires emerged new countries. For example, the Austro-Hungarian Empire that was divided in a number of independent states. Prussia and Germany turned over land to Poland. Thus, the countries of the Middle East were left under the control of Britain and French, while left of the Ottoman Empire became Turkey. Social effects. World War I generated major social changes. Being raised abruptly fell by the death of millions of young men. In addition to this, many citizens lost their homes and had to flee to other countries. The role of women also changed, as they had to replace men in office and industries. In this line, the right of women, such as the right to vote, began to increase. High social classes ceased to have a dominant position in society, as the middle and lower classes began demanding their right after the war. A generation was lost. Some historians consider that a complete generation was lost when so many young soldiers died. In addition, more than 7 million men were completely disabled to continue their life normally due to the aftermath of the war. Wounds on not only physical people, mutilation, burn and facial damage, but also psychological, leaving a high cost in indirect consequence, much more than a previous war in history. There was also a sense of disillusionment and distrust of political figures. It began a process of bitter acceptance of reality in the place of the optimistic dreams that had existed previously.
Created using Powtoon.